We will now move to the reading of our mission statement, which is found on your agenda. By Equity Council member Dr. Farr. Could you do that for us, please? Sorry, you're on mute. And if any...
let's see if somebody could post it. My computer is having difficulties doing that.
Okay, actually, who's got it?
I've got it. The mission of the Equity Council is to monitor and analyze equity issues, advise the Fayette County Board of Education, and advocate for achievement for all students.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Next, we're going to take a moment to read our standards of practice agreement, which is the long one that was attached to your agenda. It's the one that's always there. And I will start that. Thank you very much. I'll start it and read the first bullet. As elected and appointed members of the Fayette County Board of Education Equity Council Committee, we accept the high honor and trust that has been placed in us to ensure that the students in this district receive the best education available anywhere in the United States of America. In accepting this role, we hold the pursuit of that goal as our sacred duty. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in the conduct of our business. We will place the interests of students above all others in every decision we make.
Uphold all applicable federal and state laws and regulations.
By the policies of the Fayette County School Board of Education, the Equity Council bylaws, and work with fellow committee members to recommend changes to those policies as needed to improve student learning.
Maintain an unwavering focus on the achievement of all students, regardless of race, class, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status, special need, or English language proficiency.
Not use our positions for personal or partisan gain.
Model continuous learning and improvement in our roles as members of the advisory team.
Support a strategic plan for the district that clearly defines success and accountability for the board, the staff, and our students.
Focus on the policy work of the board and monitor progress on the indicators of success in our strategic plan, leaving the day-to-day operation of the district to the superintendent and staff.
Based on recommendation. Sorry, go ahead.
Base our recommendations upon available facts, advise our convictions, avoid bias, and uphold and support the decisions of the board once a decision has been written by them.
Work to build trust between and among Equity Council committee members, board members, and the superintendent by treating everyone with dignity and respect, even in times of disagreement.
Maintain the confidentiality of potentially privileged information shared in collaboration with subcommittee members and district staff.
Recognize that authority rests only with decisions made by the Fayette County Board of Education, and make no independent commitments or take any independent actions that may compromise the Fayette County Public Schools Board of Education Equity Council Committee, nor the work of district staff as a team.
Refer constituent complaints and concerns to the Equity Council Chair through the Equity Council Liaison, Superintendent Designee, and then to the Superintendent.
Respect the leadership roles of the board chair, Equity Council Committee chair, and superintendent.
Thanks, friends. Please take a moment to review the agenda. Hopefully you saw that in your email previously from Ms. Scully. If there are any changes to the agenda, sing out. And if not, I'll accept a motion to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Yes.
I assume that was in favor, correct, Ms. Arthur? All right, great. Probably my internet coming in late, bringing you late. Sweet, that carries. Next, so September written minutes were not available at press time or before this meeting, so we will share them once they're available and approve them at November's meeting. And in the meantime, we all have access through the Equity Council folder in your Google Drive.
Hey, Brett, be careful. You got some extra feed coming in. I don't know if it's paper rubbing up against the mic or what.
Ooh, sorry about that. It's probably my
Fine.
I shaved, so hopefully that, there's no beard fuzz. And if this gets rubby or whatever, let me know and I'll thank you for that. November, we'll approve September minutes.
Excuse me, Mr. Nathaniel.
Yes.
Do we need to amend the agenda since the approval of minutes is on the agenda?
Approval or disapproval? Yeah, that sounds good. I yield to anybody who knows more than that about Robert's Rules of Order and that stuff. If we need to amend the agenda, we can do that. So, do I hear a motion is there a motion to move forward with the proposed alternate edited agenda without the minutes included, or without the approval of September minutes included? All in favor? Oh wait, we need a motion first.
So moved.
I will second. This is
Thank
Talithia
you.
Route.
Thank you, Talithia. And all in favor?
Aye.
Show of hands or voice. Thank you. All opposed? Any opposed? All right. Carries. So we have now accepted the new agenda, and skipping that next point, Dr. Liggins.
Good evening, everyone. My report will be fairly short. I've had quite a few meetings over the last time since we've met that from community partners and individuals and groups as well that are very interested in the work that's being done by this Equity Council. One of those meetings have actually been with a 2-day retreat with the FCPS Board of Education, and we've really dug deep into the work that's happening with this group and the vision that is in place to continue this work and to really go a little bit more in depth with the purpose of this group. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this partnership and continuing to see the impact that the individuals that are volunteering their time here can have on our district and our students as a whole. So thank you for your time. And as I continue to learn, please let me know what I can do for you.
Thank you, Dr. Liggins. And thank you, board members, Ms. Morris and others, for investing 2 days. I know those things are helpful, and really, I'm looking forward to that for us. A later committee item or agenda item, but I know the pandemic does it messes with all of our relationships, but it doesn't just mess with them, it's hindered them. So I know some time together committed to this work will be great for us. So really that's Ms. Scully has sent a couple doodle polls for the best possible time. So if you would, please reply, weigh in with your availability, and we will try and scratch out some time so that we can dig in as well. That's all I have. Ms. Morris, do you care to share a word from the board?
Yes, hello, good evening, and thank you guys for your gift of time this evening. I guess I'll go into a little bit about what we talked about on the retreat. we went into a whole lot of protocols and standards of practice and kind of went through those with a fine tooth comb. I wouldn't say that they're 100% finished yet, but they're a lot closer than they were beforehand. I'm really hoping that we do something similar with the Equity Council, and I've talked to the Chairman Murphy about it, and he seems to be supportive of that. And I was going to ask Dr. Liggins the next time that I spoke to him if that's kind of what he envisioned as well for this group. Some of the things that I thought were helpful, you know your own strengths and weaknesses, but sometimes you're not really good at letting your colleagues know that. And so it was helpful that we did a personality test and really were able to understand what we needed from each other and those types of things. And so one of the things that was a little bit funny is Dr. Liggins and I are both doers as well as Ms. Spires. So we can kind of get impatient with things, and we don't like it when wheels spin, and we are very goal oriented and those types of things. So being on the Equity Council, or not on the council, but a representative here, sometimes I feel like we could do a better job at really getting a little bit more in depth with what we do and a little bit more teeth to it. So I think that at our retreat or at your all's retreat that we can really hear what your ideas are on that. So I think what, after talking to Chairman Murphy after our retreat, he was very interested to hear your all's perspective on how we could do a better job. What we don't want to do is have you all spend a lot of time collecting data, meeting with folks, and then nothing is done with that. So we need to make sure that we give you all clear objectives and a timeline and those types of things. And then also, how can we serve you better? What kind of things do you need from us so that we can better support you as an individual and a group? I really, really appreciated Deborah, Dr. Keyswright, facilitating the meeting. I thought that she was really passionate, but she looked at everything through an equity lens, which would, be perfect for this group, I think. And she's also very data oriented. So some of the folks that I know on this committee, I think would really appreciate her perspective and her guidance on how to be just more effective in what we do when we come to these meetings and when we're kind of working outside of these meetings. The other thing that I would like to really know about you guys that we kind of talked about at our retreat is your whys. Why are you here? I know, when Mr. Berry was appointed, that his background was in lobbying in California, and he's working on his doctorate in education policy. And so there's a lot that I don't really know what really drives you guys. So I'd like to hear more about that. And I'm sure you all would like to get to know each other better too. So that sums up what I wanted to say. So do you guys have any questions?
What was the personality inventory?
She said it could have been much worse. So I forgot the name, that vice chair or the category, but she likes to be supportive of people and to have to not have disagreements and bring people together. And I definitely see that in her. She's been very healing, I think, a healing presence on the board. And she's also very super organized. Tyler and Mr. Jones are detailed.
I think he was asking what kind of personality test.
I was just wondering if it was Myers-Briggs, if it was the DISC, if it was
I don't remember.
Enneagram.
Sorry.
Okay. No worries.
It was a very simple.
But I was interested.
Very simple.
Cool. Yeah, but I didn't know what I was writing down, but I'm like, okay, that's good. Anyway, so thank you, Ms. Morris. I look forward to that too. And
I would like to add, if you guys do whomever you use for your retreat, and I know that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the board made an effort, though, to come together in person. We wore masks the entire time and all of that, but it was something about us being in the same room and being able to connect that really also helped with that team building. So that's something to consider.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Liggins.
And I would like to build on what you said, Dr. Liggins. I think that when you have a video camera in your face, you seem to have a little bit of a guard up. So having that in-person experience, I think will be more relaxing for you guys. I feel like you'll get more out of it. So, but that's on you. I just wanted to say that as well.
There were 4 discussion items submitted, and I will turn it over to Ms. Scully to bring forth discussion items related to the ECC retreat, Audit Committee representative, and current vacancies. And then we'll go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Nathaniel. And thank you all for the dialogue around the retreat. Everything stated is noted. And I just want to emphasize that we do need to narrow down a date. And so you guys all have the link to identify what's available. It is blocked off into 4 hours. So, if we can get it all, if we can meet collectively in one span, we will. But if we can only do it 4 hours at a time, we'll do it that way. I think the main thing is to get as many of you together as possible. And then we will also gauge different discussion items or what some of your wants and needs are. We did have a facilitator come before to talk with the council, but we have new members. And so we want to make sure that we're capturing your voice as well. So we will definitely be reaching out and collecting more information in preparation. And Ms. Morris did reach out to me, and I'll be circling back with her on some things that they did during the board retreat that could be beneficial for the council as well. The next thing I want to mention is the Audit Committee. There is a request to have Equity Council has a seat reserved on the Audit Committee, and Dr. Jenkins served in that. Since she is no longer on the council, that seat is now vacant. And so we are looking for someone from the council to join the Audit Committee. So if you are available, willing to serve in that capacity, please let me know, and I will pass your name on to Mr. Rodney Jackson on behalf of the council. Any takers live right now?
Do we have the time frame for which that role would take place or whatnot?
The next meeting is October 20th. In the email I sent, I put the link that had more information about the Audit Committee, and it had all the dates listed. I didn't note all those. I don't have those in front of me right now, but I believe they meet I don't want to make it up, but I know the next meeting is October 20th.
Right, but is it like an ad hoc, a temporary committee, or is like for a month or two, or is it a committee that's ongoing?
Ongoing. Sorry, I didn't understand. Yeah, ongoing.
They meet quarterly.
Yes.
And I was at the one in June. If you have a background in finance or that you love numbers and that kind of thing, specifically finance and money stuff, not just data, that was Mr. Jackson indicated that would be preferred, but not required. So any takers, sing out.
I am interested. I'll follow up, even if only in a temporary capacity to somebody else come on. But it's something that I would definitely consider to do.
Thank you. And I did want to say there's no requirements at all. I mean, you don't have to have a financial background at all. The information is really at a basic level to where you don't need a CPA to understand what's happening. So, but your opinion is very valued and necessary when it looks at certain aspects of the organization and what is actually being audited.
Thank you, Dr. Liggins.
Just a tidbit of history with Dr. Jenkins being the vice dean at UK's business school, and then going to be the dean of the School of Commerce at UVA. She was like optimal. So that was.
Don't give intimidation here, Brett. I mean,
I'm not trying to. I'm agreeing with Dr. Liggins. Like,
okay.
we didn't. She more than fit the bill. But I went last time to fill in. I understood everything. So.
Thank you. And then the next thing on the agenda deals with the 2 vacancies. We had a chance to meet your leadership team, Mr. Nathaniel, Dr. Farr, and Mr. McLaughlin. And the way your bylaws read is that we are to appoint or fill the vacancies within 2 months. We are approaching election season and voting. And so it seemed rather confusing to appoint someone or go through the nomination process at this point, only to turn around and then have them go back through it in December. So we met and would like to pose to the council, we want to recommend that the ECC fills these 2 vacancies as part of the designated election process in which new members are voted on in December. And this will require a vote in order for us to do this. More than happy to answer any questions.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I have a question.
So my question, go ahead. So somebody else, go ahead and answer the question. I'll go next.
I have a question. So the election for those vacancies would occur in December. Is it possible, and maybe we can discuss this at the retreat, to have a orientation planned and ready for them, since they'll likely miss the retreat that we're gonna have?
Yes, I think that's what's going to bubble up from the retreat. Part of it is that the onboarding process for Equity Council needs to be improved. And so we can, with this group, because you guys have been in it for a while, can help form that and put some things in place for better structure and procedures for onboarding.
My question would be, do we know if the 2 seats are those appointed persons or community-based persons?
They're all elected community positions. Everyone appointed by a board member, their seat is secured until December 2022. Okay. There are, if you look at your agenda, we keep track of who's appointed through December 2022 and who's elected through December 2021.
Okay, so then I guess the main question is, what we would be deciding upon is, are we going to seek to, I guess, appoint someone that would begin before January, or are we going to just go ahead and wait for the election process, considering that it's October as of now?
Yes.
I think that's what you said. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Berry, yes.
Yeah, so I would like to move that we do all the elections at one time, the 2 vacancies and the other 4 positions. We do the election in December.
This is Olivia Wright, and I will second that motion.
Right. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor of combining everything, vacancies and elections, same time in December? Say aye or show your hands. Great.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. All in favor, so motion carries.
Thank you all so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait. Sorry, we're done. Excuse me. Notes. Moving fast.
Moving into discussing the nominations and election and voting process coming up.
Yes, so the relative to the next election process and nominations happening because the 5 people, 6 actually, Ms. George, myself, Ms. Arthur, Ms. Boyd Powell, maybe that's only 4 I can count. And then the 2 spots vacated by Dr. Jenkins and Ms. Gillespie. For those of us who are currently on here on the Equity Council, we need to email Ms. Scully, and I've seen some of those come in, as well as both to say they're seeking re-election as well as they won't be. So nominations for new members, all members interested in re-election must submit an application, even though, update your resume, whatever the page is that you attach to that, by the deadline, the last business day of the month of October. So just 26 days or less. Nominations for new members will be taken during the month of October, and those can be accepted during tonight's meeting by email to the chair, that would be me, or by simply asking the potential candidate to submit their application. Again, they all must be received by the last business day of the month of October, and voting will take place in December. You may refer to Article 4B and C in the bylaws for more details outlining this process. The announcement for submissions of applications will go out before the end of this week in the customary channels that it is sent out. Are there any nominations tonight from the floor?
I don't have any nominations, but can you tell me if it's appropriate, or if it's inappropriate, I'll stop. I want to encourage the four. I want to know if it's okay to encourage the four of you who your terms end in December and you're currently on the council committee to please run again. Is that bias? Is that okay, Ms. Scully? Or no, probably not.
It's fine. It's done. It's fine.
Okay, it's done. Well, I mean, we're talking about retreat. We're talking about trying to come together as a group. We're talking about momentum. And as a group, we're relatively new, right? I mean, I've just been here a couple months, really. So anyway, I was just hoping that each of you would strongly consider that.
Noted. And at the same time, I'll offer a little, not balance, but community members watching this now or later, if you want to be here and you're invested, we would love for you to submit an application to run for election. At least one of us will not be running for re-election, so there is space, and there are two other members spots that we need to fill. So, and we look forward to welcoming a full complement of 11 council members, whether I'm here or not, whether I'm re-elected or not. Any other questions or nominations?
Mr. Nathaniel, I think that on our last meeting, I recall us talking about looking at some of the previous applicants and discussing if we want to reach out to them and see if they're interested in running again.
They will be. We looked through the list, pulled email addresses. We have that ready to go. So once the announcement rolls out, we'll definitely reach back out to we're supposed to maintain a pool of interested applicants. So We'll send that out when the announcement goes out to see if any of them are interested in running again. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. That was a strong pool from which Ms. Arthur were elected. And clearly they're strong.
Do we elect officers as well during that time frame, or is it just simply membership and then we do that separately?
Membership in December, and then once everyone's in, beginning of the year, we'll start talking about the election process.
Good question, Mr. Berry. Thank you. Going once, going twice for nominations from the floor or questions. All right. We will now move to our subcommittee reports. The first subcommittee report will be the bylaws ad hoc committee. Please note that in accordance to our bylaws, in order to move the recommended changes to the board, all motions to amend the bylaws must be first submitted in writing to the ECC, which we have done. However, no motion to amend the bylaws will be made until after the topic has been on the agenda for 2 meetings and has had 2 readings. I will now ask Councilmember Berry for our second review and reading of the recommended changes.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Again, so should I just read this straight through, or Anybody who may have reviewed, I guess, the document as it is online anyway, have any concerns, questions, discussion, anything like that? Okay. Can I share my screen here? Because I'm reading from the document that I have here. I'm pretty sure it's the same as the one online. It's just in a little bit more of a better format here as far as the numbers things.
Yes, you can share.
Okay. Can everyone see that there?
Yes,
Yes,
we can.
Mr. Barry, thank you.
Cool. Let's see here. So, of course, it's just Article 4 and Article 5. I started to even put in blue here today as far as where the changes kind of were. Nonetheless, I think both documents should be available online as far as the old one and the new one. And really, there's not a lot of changes, so to speak. More so, it's just the numbering here to make it easier to kind of, read or get to each article or navigate the document. And then also, there's some clarity around the language, especially as it comes to the elections. The previous bylaws kind of made it a bit confusing, and so I just kind of cleared that up and used some different terminology regarding what was meant as around, some of that verbiage, if you will. So those are in a nutshell, I guess, the big changes. But I will go ahead and begin to read, beginning with Article 4. This is membership. And so Article 4, council composition and membership. Section 4.1, ECC composition. The Equity Council Committee, ECC, the ECC shall reflect diversity. 4.1A2, membership shall be comprised of both elected community-based representatives and appointed community-based representatives for fostering multicultural, ethnic, and professional diversity. Community-based constituent groups are to strive for diversity in their appointment and election processes. Article 4, Section 1A3, the ECC shall consist of 11 community-based members. 5 of the 11 community-based members are to be appointed by each respective district member of the Fayette County Board of Education. Article 4.1A3(2), the remaining 6 community-based members are to be elected by a majority of the ECC. I'm not going to keep reading each number, but you get the idea. For this purpose, a quorum shall be defined as at least 6 members of the ECC. All community-based members, whether elected or appointed, shall 1, have expressed an interest and a commitment to serve, and 2, have a proven history for making a contribution to human rights, equal opportunities, and/or educational equity. And 3, and there's a note to the footnote I'll get to at the bottom. And 3, a community-based member should be one who has demonstrated a commitment or contribution to human rights, equal opportunities, and/or educational equity. I'll probably even just change that to, just put members. Anyway, upon request, the district liaison to the ECC will make the list available. Why is that there? Oh, Lord. Yeah, okay. It's me, okay. I don't know why that's there. So I've been trying to, pick up kind of the pieces of the drafts. Nonetheless, upon request, the district liaison to ECC will make a list available, that should say a list available, to the ECC and the Fayette County Board of Education when it is necessary to fill a vacancy on the ECC. The district liaison to the ECC shall also maintain an updated list of current community-based members with sufficient information to allow the Fayette County Board of Education and the ECC to assess areas of need on the ECC. The district liaison to the ECC shall solicit new applicants for appointment and election on an ongoing basis. no actively employed Fayette County Public School employee, FCPS paraprofessional, FCPS substitute, or FCPS employee currently on board approved leave, nor the relative of any such employees listed above shall serve as a voting member of the ECC. Further, no one may serve on the ECC who has a conflict of interest as defined by KRS Chapter 45A. The term relative, comma, as used herein is defined by FCPS policies 3.11 and 3.21. This provision, Article 4, Section 4.01F, does not apply to any collaborative work of the ECC via ECC Subcommittee. See ECC Committee Policy. Section 4.2, requirements, source of appointments for membership, and the appointment of ECC community-based members. Each respective district member of the Fayette County Board of Education shall appoint one member to the ECC by the regular meeting in December of even numbered years or within 30 days as a vacancy occurs. Appointments shall be made in consideration of the existing diversity of the community and the diversity makeup of the ECC. Members shall be permitted to serve their complete terms of office even if the Fayette County Board of Education member who appointed them leaves office. Membership is not transferable and resignations shall be by written notice to the chairperson. The chairperson shall have the vice chair facilitate the meeting or the meetings in his or her absence at all meetings. 4.2B, the election of ECC community-based members. 4.2B1, 6 ECC community-based members shall be elected by the sitting members of the ECC. Within the first week of October of each odd-numbered year, the Office of Equity, School Support, and Community Engagement shall arrange for an advertisement to appear in Lexington's largest circular or newspaper, on the FCPS website and or homepage, and periodically on the FCPS Public Educational Television channel, along with other social media outlets as deemed appropriate as a community outreach initiative. 1, the advertisement shall fully describe the application process, including but not limited to a description of the ECC as a standing committee to the Fayette County Board of Education. Funds shall be sufficiently budgeted annually by the district liaison to the ECC and supported by the superintendent to support this initiative. Elections shall take place at the regular meeting in December of each odd-numbered year. The district liaison to the ECC shall maintain an independent, ongoing list of individuals and organizations who have expressed an interest in an individual member serving on the ECC. The ECC chair at the regular meeting in November of each odd-numbered year shall announce to the ECC and to the community the date in December that membership elections shall be held. At the October meeting, members of the ECC will be afforded an opportunity to nominate an individual from an organization or an individual who has acknowledged an interest to serve on the ECC at this same meeting. The ECC chair or designee will contact nominated organizations and or individuals. Terms of office. Terms of each community-based member shall be two-year re-electable terms. Therefore, any community-based member may be re-elected or reappointed, provided they continue to be eligible to represent the constituency or the community. Community-based members can serve 3 two-year terms for a maximum of a total of 6 consecutive years. Once a member has reached this limit, they are required a minimum consecutive 2-year service break before seeking re-election. Article 5, community-based member election processes. Section 5.1, requirements for declaring candidacy. Applicant candidacy criteria. Individuals nominated from organizations or individuals nominated from the community at large, including sitting members of the ECC seeking re-election, must fully complete an application and attach a resume and additional information about oneself and or organization. This probably needs to be removed where the notes are made proposed revision, blah, blah, blah. Well, I could read that too, but the proposed revision, all individuals interested in serving on the ECC, including sitting members seeking re-election, become applicants upon the full completion of an application packet, which includes an attached resume, additional information about oneself. Right, and so this is one of the main revisions. Instead of saying people are nominated or nominees repeatedly kind of separates there's several steps in the nomination process leading up to the election. And that will become clearer here in a second. So an applicant should clearly articulate how his or her participation as a future sitting member will advance and support equity, diversity, and inclusion in the Fayette County Public Schools or school district. The application, resume, and additional supporting documents shall not exceed a total of 5 pages. All completed applications must be received in the Office of Equity, School Support, and Community Engagement not later than the close of business, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the last business day of the month of October. Incomplete or late applications will not be considered or presented to the ECC. Section 5.2, the nomination of applicants and the voting process. Pre-election, the district liaison to the ECC will report to the ECC at its regular meetings in November the complete list of applicants who have qualified for candidacy. At the regular meeting in December of odd number years, the Office of Equity, School Support, and Community Engagement shall prepare a list of candidates for the election of 6 newly elected ECC members. Should the December meeting not be held for any reason, the election will take place upon the next meeting of the ECC. Proposed revision as a statement to clarify contingency. Yeah, so that's added in case the meeting is not held in December, during the next meeting thereafter. Applicant nomination process. Upon meeting a quorum at the December meeting in election years, nominations will begin. All sitting members shall nominate an applicant for consideration during the timeline established in section 4.2b. Yeah, so that's where you separate applicants from nominees or even candidates from nominees. So all sitting members seeking re-election shall follow the guidelines as detailed in Article 4, Section C. Therefore, nominations from the floor are strictly prohibited. An applicant is nominated for candidacy in the form of a motion by a sitting ECC member. The nomination must be seconded by another sitting member of the ECC. The nominee then becomes a candidate for voting. Voting on candidate nominees. At the November meeting, the ECC members shall determine a slate of nominees. That's one of those ones I don't know that we would keep, but basically that's going to be the slate is pretty much what we're saying as far as the candidates had came. And so that's where you would start, or the applicants had qualified to be, I guess, voted to be nominees or otherwise, be second, and 2 people will, for them to be a vote. Prior to voting, the ECC members shall determine by census the number of votes each member may cast. Once a nomination is seconded, sitting members shall vote in favor or opposition to the nominated candidate to be a member of the ECC. The vote shall be roll call vote. All sitting members shall vote. The ECC secretary shall record the results of the roll call vote for each candidate if the ECC secretary is a candidate. The ECC chair shall appoint a designee to record the results of the roll call vote. After positions have been filled, the election shall end. The results of the election shall become part of the minutes. If sitting ECC members are also candidates, they may also vote for themselves. Recusal of voting for oneself is not mandated. In the event of a tie vote on a candidate, the vote fails for a lack of majority. The current version of Robert Rules of Orders shall be the reference resource used to clarify and process should any issues or questions arise. Removal of members. A member of the ECC may be removed for cause after an opportunity for hearing before the Fayette County Board of Education by vote of 3 members of the Fayette County Board of Education. The ECC may, by majority vote, remove a member who has 3 absences within a calendar year. Filling vacancies. If a member of the ECC resigns or is removed from office, that vacancy shall be replaced by appointment within 30 days from the time of the vacancy, or a special election shall take place by the ECC within 2 months of the vacancy from the applicant's list maintained by the Office of Equity, School Support, and Community Engagement. If no applications are available from which to choose, the ECC chair shall accept nominations during the 2-month period. The ECC chair shall submit an individual name from the nominations received to the ECC for a special election. And that is the end of the bylaws for Article 4 and 5.
Mr. Barry, thank you very, very much. Your cohort being absent, I sent a chat to you and just offered to share the load, but you
No
pushed
worries.
on through 5
No
pages.
No, it's not a problem. I still feel like that, before we submit this to the main board, that there's a couple of things that, we might want to discuss, but it's not, I guess, something I would say is critical to the essence of the of what we have here. I mean, just quickly, I think that it kind of, if we decide how many votes each member, or how many candidates each member votes on, that could become kind of problematic unless we, put some kind of a, ratio or some kind of a formula there, or just leave it at a set, whatever it is. But other than that, I think, that's probably my biggest hang up with it. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barry.
De nada.
I'm trying not to violate just the way we're supposed to proceed relative to the second reading of the bylaws, and not wanting to discuss. I mean, your suggestions and work on it is noted throughout. I mean, it is revised because of the work you and your subcommittee have put forth. So I think a vote is needed to approve the recommended changes and to submit it to the board for approval. Is there a motion?
Could I just ask a quick question about, Joseph, could you scroll down to the section on vacancies?
Filling vacancies?
Filling vacancies. My only question was 5.2. E1. Where it says the vacancy shall be replaced by appointment within 30 days from the time of the vacancy or a special election. I'm just wondering, first of all, which one is it? And if it's the appointment, does the chairperson make the appointment, or does the ECC?
Right. So those, I would argue, are a little bit more of things that were ambiguous in that way, and so these are things that I would argue should be discussed. At this point, I guess it's almost kind of a moot thing, but before we push it out, I almost feel like these, even though they seem minor, they could be things that could become an issue in the future. And so it says that the ECC chair can put the just a need for better wording, but it's probably referring to if it's a board, kind of nominee, a school board nominee, and they appoint another one, whereas the other one would probably be a special election. But that distinction should be made throughout, and I started to, and I may have missed that, and that could be an easy fix here, but that distinction has to be kind of made throughout, where say, this is a candidate, or some type of board nominee or a community member nominee, and that way those kinds of confusions won't be too commonplace anyway.
Hi, Mr. Barry. Has Ms. George laid eyes on this yet?
I'm not sure. It's been on the drive. I kind of just now laying eyes on it exactly, here recently, as of like maybe Friday. But I know that Ms. Gillespie put a lot of work into it too, and so
I think that Ms. George is an attorney. I think that it would be best for her to lay eyes on it one more time as well. And just according to Robert's rules, since this isn't in its final form, we can't vote on it yet until it's in its final form.
That's fair enough, and that was kind of I mean, ideally, I would think that we would have, I would say, at least a meeting or two to kind of discuss this, like as we're doing here before. I think that the two reads are probably meant to kind of be more so of a transparency deal for the public to hear. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do, and less less so for us to kind of have these conversations. But I just move forward in the spirit of trying to facilitate the conversation and catch such things like that. But yeah, absolutely. I think that,
especially with the contingencies.
Right.
In order for us to move forward, we'll need it in its final form.
Sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. I can get it in its final form. Once I guess I'll ask Mr. George to look at it, and then again, anybody from the from the council,
Sure.
whether you remember the committee or not, I would just the same way you just asked that, Mr. McLaughlin, is exactly the kind of the feedback that will help make this exactly how we want it and read it and ready to move it forward like we want to.
And that weighing in and looking at it on our own is what helps not that we're opposed to discussion by any means, but as you said, Mr. Berry, for transparency, the public readings that's primarily the purpose. And so that we all get to see it, but the work that we do behind the scenes that you and Ms. Gillespie and Ms. George and maybe Mr. Elamine, I believe, have already done. Because it's actually, Mr. Berry, I know there were issues. We had people departing the council as well as access issues. Could you just send this to us again and invite us to weigh in and then ideally, oh yeah, well.
What I'll do is I'll probably send it to you or our secretary or even to Ms. Scully, someone like that, and then
just send it to me and I'll put it. That's great. That's super. Actually, you've already done that, so I'll do that. Ms. Scully, how does this? Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Arthur. Sorry.
So
actually, I'm sorry, Ms. Arthur. Can I pardon my interruption? Mr. Berry, can you unshare your screen? Unless you're so we can see everybody. I didn't mean to cut you off, Ms. Arthur. I just couldn't see.
Yeah, unless Ms. Arthur, do you have something you want me to point to here before I answer it?
No, not about the document specifically.
Okay.
So in thinking about the process that we need to move through in order for these to be finalized on our end, knowing that they need to be approved by the board, are we still operating for the elections that take place in December and the nomination process that is currently ongoing and will go through November? Will we still be operating under our current bylaws? Because in order for us to have a second reading, that is two separate meetings, and then it goes to the board and they need to have time to approve it. So are we saying that we basically will not have new bylaws before the next round of elections?
Of course, we would operate under the old bylaws until these are made official. Absolutely. But more importantly, we didn't, as a committee, didn't make any, I guess, changes to the election process per se. It was more so changes to the verbiage, trying to capture, I guess, the essence of what was already there. Not change it, just say it more clearly.
I guess that's my concern, is that the reason that this section of the bylaws were identified is because of the confusion with the voting process. Right. So I'm just a little bit concerned about going into another election and nomination cycle with the old bylaws, unless we have some type of not changing it, but having some type of clarifying document or something that truly outlines step by step the process that is in alignment with the bylaws. I just think we're kind of setting ourselves up for additional confusion in a few months.
Mrs. Arthur, I think that what we are planning to do moving forward was going over Robert's rules. I'm not for sure if everyone on this equity council committee has a copy of Robert's rules, but I suggest getting one. I have several if you need.
We have copies in our office and a quick reference guide to give you guys whenever we're able to be in person.
Yeah, and so I think that when we have our retreat, possibly, we can discuss that because it lays it out very simplistically. And so I don't think that there will be an issue if we were to follow Robert's rules of order.
Yeah, I'll speak for myself. I would appreciate some type of truncated document or something maybe similar to the script that we use in the meetings. Or I know Robert's rules can be very, it's very comprehensive. And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page before, we have the voting process. So, like you said, maybe at the retreat, that would be a good time to go over that.
Agreed. Ms. Arthur, thank you. And Ms. Powell, thank you. Ms. Scully, just to clarify, we don't need to take a vote, correct?
No, I don't think there was ever a motion on the floor.
Right, but
no motion, then we move forward.
Right. I think that we may be ready for, to do that kind of thing at the next meeting or something like that. At least that's my 2 cents. And unless somebody, has a better idea, that's where I'm at with it.
I recommend this not coming back in front of the council until the subcommittee has had a chance to talk through some of it and bring a more finalized document to the group.
Wise.
And with the subcommittee, once it's announced, if other additional council members would like to attend, they would need to give notification to make sure that we're not exceeding quorum, but additional members can come and support and walk through the bylaws as well.
Thank you, Ms. Scully. And thank you, Mr. Berry.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Berry.
The next subcommittee report is Board Diversity Subcommittee. Dr. Farr, Mr. Elamine, Ms. Arthur, and Ms. Boyd Powell, would you share your report, please?
I personally don't have too much to report. I did meet with a member of the Pritchard Committee not long after our last monthly meeting to touch base about some of the thoughts that we had on the nomination application process for ex officio members, but we still have that in a draft form. And I'll email the subcommittee and be in contact with Ms. Scully, but would like to add that definitely to the agenda. I think we've kind of reached a point as a group where we have some things in draft mode and are trying to think about the best ways to continue to move forward. And I think it will be helpful to know some of the timing and other action items of the school board as well, to make sure we're using our time wisely and that we're kind of engaging the right groups and doing things in a kind of a logical order. So right now, not too much to update, but I look forward to digging deeper during the retreat. And I'll let my other subcommittee members add anything they have.
Yeah, I would like to say one of the things we probably should do prior to our retreat is actually maybe have a conversation with a couple of board members and say a little bit about with some of the stuff we disclosed last time from our subcommittee, and maybe learn more about some of the insights gained from the board retreat and how we might sort of just make sure we're on the same page, actually. So have a discussion at our retreat after having talked with some of the board members and make sure that we're on the same page as we move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Arthur. Thank you, Dr. Farr. The next item on the agenda, and look forward to your next, what you drop in our folder or communicate further about the Board Diversity Subcommittee. It's important. So the next agenda on the next item on our agenda is remarks by the community, from the community, members, citizens of Fayette County. Fayette County Board of Education policy 01.45 states members of the public may address the board during the period set aside by the board without submitting an item for agenda. No action shall be taken during this portion of the meeting on issues raised by employees or the public unless deemed an emergency by the board. And before I read further, I think I finished this last time. members of the community to offer remarks. So can I just get a anyway, but I don't know who's at the board or at the room 150 to tell us whether there's anybody there or not.
We're checking right now to see if there is public comment.
Super. Well, I'll keep reading in the meantime. Please be mindful that this is a public broadcast. Speakers may be muted or removed from the meeting for profane or obscene language or other behavior that is not appropriate for a public meeting. Speakers will not be allowed to make any disparaging or critical remarks about any individuals or employees of the district. Critical comments and complaints are processed through the district's complaint procedures, which affords the individuals to whom comments or complaints are directed the opportunity for response and due process. If disparaging or critical remarks about individuals are made, speakers will immediately be muted and removed from this meeting. At this time, and I see that there are members of the public, at this time, members of the public are invited to speak. This is not intended to be a time for a debate, but the board will take the public's input into consideration. I would ask that each speaker keep their remarks to less than 3 minutes. Thank you to those present tonight for bringing your comments to the Equity Council.
Mr. Nathaniel, at this time, we don't have anyone for public comment.
I apologize to accuse you of being a member of the public. Stay the line. Well then, this concludes our meeting. Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson or Ms. Morris or Dr. Liggins. Do you know who the person staffing the FCPS boardroom was?
Ms. Katina Brown.
Ah, Ms. Brown. I should have known. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate your assistance.
And Robert was there too.
Of course. On his birthday, no less. Wow. Thank you, Robert. Mr. Lewis. Thank you, council members. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Dr. Liggins. Thank you, FCPS staff and others. Are there any additional items? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's Equity Council meeting.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
I see all those hands and hear all those voices. That carries. We are now adjourned, 7:43. By 2 minutes. Never happened.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Everybody.
Look forward to seeing you. Ciao.